And get started. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Will Reese, and I'm the marketing rep for AFC Vacations. What a great year in travel it's been, and we've had a fantastic time talking about travel, bringing different destinations back, and 2023 has been stellar. Trips are selling out, and many folks have already started booking their 2024 seasons. So I haven't been here since the inception of AFC back in 1982, but every person who's worked with us since then has been in love with travel, and we're happy to provide the opportunity for everyone to explore the world with some outstanding tour managers leading you. And I'm joined today by one of our longtime tour managers with AFC Vacations, and that is Deb Howard, and she'll be sharing her 2024 tour manager schedule and talking about some great upcoming trips for 2024.
Hi, everybody.
So what we do at AFC Vacations is worldwide tours and cruises. We have all sorts of different travel styles, whether it's train tours, classic tours by motor coach with the national parks, European river cruises, or ocean liners. We just got back from a cruise down to Mexico a couple of days ago. So a lot of great options with us. And one of the most popular is our Unpack Once tours. That allows you to settle into your hotel for an entire trip. Now, what's included with AFC? So our prices are inclusive and honest with no gimmicks like free airfare. We show you the price for your tour with round trip air. And we also include home pickup if you're within 40 miles of your airport. Home pickup is a huge advantage to you as a traveler to make things easier to get to and from the airport. And we're also offering now our home pickup credit. And that means if you make your own arrangements to and from the airport, your final payment will be reduced by $100 per person. So that's a great and easy way to save money, especially if you share a ride with somebody. So that reduces that down for both of you. Now, our tour managers are the best in the industry, and they're helpful, organized, and they care about maximizing your travel experience. So the hotels, activities, and dining that we provide give you a great taste of local life, and many of the meals incorporate regional specialties or special cultural experiences as well. The hotels we use are well located and comfortable, and the included sightseeing makes our trips memorable. And they have guided commentary with folks like Deb talking to you about all the great unique features to the different destinations we do. Now, one of the items we recently introduced was guaranteed pricing. So once your deposit is paid on your tour, your price is locked in, even as fuel prices change for motor coaches and river cruise ships. For example, last year we were sent a $10,000 fuel surcharge for one of our cruises just a couple of weeks before departure. And we absorbed that cost. We didn't pass it on to our travelers. We also have what are called guaranteed departures. So when you see the GD symbol in the brochure and on the show, that means we have enough passengers to travel on that departure. And as we move through the year and into 2024, you'll see more of these programs going to that guaranteed status. So one of the big things for us is just giving you the last chance to look at a different set of tours for the end of the year. And that's for fall. We have all sorts of trips going out the door left and right from September, October, and November. So many of those are listed here as guaranteed departures. And you can see a long list of different destinations that we're offering. And for the holidays as well, November and December, we get you out the door before the holidays so you don't miss any time with your family. And most of these are guaranteed departures at this time. So you get a chance to spend the holidays with the AFC family and join us on one of these great trips to start your holidays off right. So with us now is an exceptional tour manager who truly works hard on her craft, from learning about the different destinations to learning about each and every person on her tour. She goes above and beyond to take care of people and make sure you have an amazing experience on the trip. And here joining us today is my good friend Deb Howard to talk about her 2024 tour schedule.
Wow. Thank you, Will. I appreciate that. So, folks, this year I have been asked a lot about my potential retirement. And even though I just passed a major milestone birthday, I am committed and down for 15 tours, and all of which I am really excited. All right. Anyway, the first tour I want to talk to you about is my February 25th, New Orleans and Cajun Country. And this tour, we depart, it's almost 2 weeks after Mardi Gras. That's a good thing. We don't want to be there during Mardi Gras. What makes me really love this tour is that there's an incredible combination of different things that make for a really great experience. The variety of the food, the music, the variety of the architecture, the culture, all of this adds for an experience. There's a couple of highlights that I thought I might mention. One is the Bayou Cruise. We go out into the swamps and on a boat, and we see wildlife, we see birds, and the alligators come right up to the boat side. And that's a lot of fun. The second highlight is something that a lot of people see on the itinerary, and they think it's kind of ho-hum. It's the Martin accordion. And truth be told, this is not your Lawrence Welk style accordion. These are the smaller Cajun accordions. And the Martin family gives us a concert. They play Cajun style music, they play Zydeco, they play blues, and people come away saying, oh my gosh, this was a highlight. I agree. All right, so the next thing on my schedule are mystery tours. Now, if you've already taken a mystery tour, you can take a pause here. If you have never taken a mystery tour, I want to talk to you a little bit about it. This is a series of tours that we take you to a destination, all right, that we don't include in any of our other tours. Yes, you're making a financial commitment to go to an unknown place. It may sound a little unusual, but I guarantee you they are hugely popular, and truth be told, they sell out almost every time. So how does it work? You're told the average temperature of where you're going to go. You're told what time you'll be picked up. You're told what airline to report to, and the ticket agent at the airport is now going to be the one to tell you of your destination city. Are you going to stay there? Maybe, maybe not. All right. You might drive a bit of a distance to the ultimate place. All right. Now, there are ways to find out where we're going. I know some of you have found that out. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. All right. If you do find out where we're going, we just ask you to kind of keep that to yourself, because it is a lot of people do like the surprise. Each day is new. Each tour director handles the experiences differently. I'll give you some clues sometimes and let you try and guess where we're going, but you don't know from hour to hour where you're going to go. If you've got a sense of adventure and you do well living in the moment without having to know all the details in advance, then these tours might be for you. We like to be really creative with our mystery tour itineraries. Because the itinerary isn't published in the catalog, we get to add different options for those tours. So for example, we put some factory tours. We do some behind the scenes venues. It's a lot of fun and we get creative. As an example, my all-time favorite venue was the toilet paper factory near Omaha, Nebraska, and it was run by the sight impaired. Now, you might be concerned that if you sign up for one, are you going to go to a destination that you have been to frequently? Nobody knows where we're going from minute to minute. It's a level playing field. And the folks develop a special bond. That special bond translates to comfort with one another. I've seen lasting friendships blossom. Sometimes people develop new travel partners who they want to, travel with one another again. The sense of fun really breeds a closeness. There's a lot of different people a lot of different tour directors that run these mystery tours. Everybody has a unique style. I encourage you to give it a try at least once. So the next tour on my list is the Savannah Charleston tour. This is in March 22nd. Everybody asks me, what is your favorite tour, Deb? And that is a really hard question to answer. And so I've gone in the direction of kind of picking my 5 top favorites. Savannah and Charleston has remained a top 5 for the entire length of time I've worked for AFC. I've done this tour probably a dozen times, if not more. Why do I like it? It's a real sampling of the South. Limited bus time. You're not on the coach for hours and hours, all right? And it stops in a number of southern coastal cities. You have lunch, or you have time to shop, or you have a venue, and then it's short. What are my highlights there? The Beaufort carriage ride. We go through Beaufort's a very historic city, and we take a horse and carriage ride that's narrated. It's wonderful. The other one is the peace and the relaxation that's felt at Jekyll Island. This is an island in Georgia. It's where the rich and famous of the late 1800s went for vacation. We get a tram tour on the first morning that we're there, and then you have a free afternoon. You can go to the turtle hospital that's on the premises. You can rent a bike. There's a fabulous paved bike trail that goes around the island. I did that last time. Or you can play croquet on the front lawn. If you do that, you've got to bring your whites because it's a very traditional court. It's a great tour. All right, next on my list is the Normandy and Paris River Cruise, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So I'm going to move on to the May 5th Santa Fe and the Land of Enchantment. This is unpack once. How great is that? We get to spoke out to different places after staying in one place. I encourage you, save up your turquoise purchases for the Taos Pueblo. This is a pueblo with the Native Americans who sell their jewelry. A number of years ago, I bought my all-time favorite turquoise silver bracelet, and you can feel there. And you can feel really confident that you're getting the real thing. I would also say if you're considering going on this tour, go out and see that new movie, Oppenheimer, that just came out last weekend. It's all about the Manhattan Project. And on this tour, we're going to be going to the Los Alamos Bradbury Science Museum, and we will be learning about the creation of the first atomic bomb. So we'll be supplemented if we've seen the movie. We conclude with dining at the Santa Fe School of Cooking. That's our farewell dinner. Great way to learn about foods and flavors of the Southwest. So on to Niagara Falls and the Grand Hotel. Now, this is another one of my top 5. This tour is really a classic. It's run like a well-oiled machine. I've done this maybe half a dozen times or so. It has so many highlights, from the production line of the Ford F-150s in Detroit to the luxury and the elegance of the Grand Hotel in Mackinac. We get to see Mackinac Island by a horse and carriage ride because you can't have cars on Mackinac. We see the many sights of Niagara Falls. Now, we experience the falls in a whole lot of ways. We go behind the falls. We take a boat up to the base of both the American and the Canadian Falls. We see a really fun IMAX movie with all the true stories of the daredevils that go over the falls and so on. And really, my favorite way to experience the area is to walk on a boardwalk alongside the Class 6 rapids of the Niagara River. You really feel the awesome power of the water. We offer this numerous times. My colleagues, Chris McCool and Pat Conway, have done this tour a number of times. I'm sure they'll be doing them. And so you'll be happy with any one of us. If you want to join me, I'm doing it May 17. Okay, Idaho. Now, truth be told, this was the surprise tour of my 13 seasons with AFC. There is a lot more to Idaho than growing potatoes. And we cover a lot of the ground in that state so you can see it. I liken some of the scenery to the Rocky Mountains, maybe even on par with national parks like Mount Rainier in Washington, Olympic National Park. Incredible scenery. We start out with staying at Lake Coeur d'Alene. It's in the northern part of the state. We spend a couple of nights at a hotel that's right on the lake. It's a breathtaking view, and you get some time to enjoy the lake. There's a beautiful boardwalk in the marina you can walk by. We go to a mining town. We actually go into the mines. We have a steak dinner on a local ranch that sits just below the mountains. We take a jet boat down the Snake River with a picnic. And then we take a scenic drive through the Sawtooth Mountains. I have seen probably every type of weather pattern possible in the time that it takes to go over the pass. You can start out with sunshine, and then you can get rain, and then you can get snow and hail, and then you go back to sunshine. It's capped off staying in one of the well-known resorts of Sun Valley. It's the last home of Ernest Hemingway, and we pay our respects to Ernest in Ketchum, Idaho. We go looking for his gravesite, which can be seen by trying to find the bottle of Jack Daniels that sits on top of his gravesite. So I take the summer off. I try to head to my family cabin in Maine. I come back in September and do Cape Cod. Cape Cod is in my backyard. It's just a couple hours from where I live. We unpack twice. So you guys flying into Boston, I take a train in, we check out the city for a Boston City tour the next day, and then we move on to Hyannis, which is on the Cape. From there, we take ferries to go visit Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. All right. We take another day going all the way out to the end of the Cape. We go to Provincetown. All right. And the history of the landing of the Pilgrims really comes alive in this tour, as we see many sites of how and why and where the Pilgrims settled. We throw in a day to Newport, Rhode Island. That is my home state. We tour the Vanderbilt Mansion. It's called the Breakers. And we take a beautiful drive along what's referred to as Ocean Drive. There are a number of multi-million-dollar estates dating back to the early 1900s. And Jay Leno recently moved in. I'll show you where he lives. And then just a week later, okay, I start the Coastal Maine tour on the 14th. Here's something to think about. If you would like a 2-week East Coast experience without having to fly back and forth, all right, and you can save the money of not flying back and forth, you can take the Cape tour. At the end of the Cape tour, overnight in Boston, all right, just like I am, and then launch right into the beginning of the Coastal Maine tour the next day. You'll have a little extra time in Boston while I go out to the airport and pick up the guests, all right? The next day, yes, you're going to have a little bit more, maybe a little duplicative Boston City tour, but the emphasis of this day is Fenway Park, which is the home of the Red Sox. And I'm not one bit prejudiced in saying it's the most beautiful small ballpark in the country. We drive up to Maine. All right, we spend the rest of our time at a coastal resort in Maine. We launch off from that location to see sites along the water. I would say the highlight of this tour is Coastal Botanical Gardens in Southport, Maine. It's where 295 acres of native plants of northern New England, unique garden sculptures. I refer to it as where the granite meets the sea, because that's what Maine is all about. It's absolutely stunning. I had a recent tour guest say, and I consider this an incredible compliment, that these gardens rival Bouchard Gardens. You have plenty of opportunity for lobster, clams, and lighthouses as we explore Portland and Kennebunkport and Boothbay Harbor. So that kind of brings us up. We're going to talk about those cruises in a minute, but that brings you up to December. Our December tours have a real holiday emphasis. I mean, can you imagine going to New Orleans at holiday time? I think Christmas in New Orleans would be great. So consider that one. There's a mystery tours, all right, that are in December, and I'll be doing one next year. I love spending the holiday time kind of launching the season with my AFC friends on a mystery tour. So that really concludes my schedule. Let's move on to river cruises for 2024. And, you can see by this slide that, well, this slide, and you can probably have heard by looking in the catalog, that AFC's put a real emphasis on river cruise travel. We've been very successful. We have very positive experiences with the river cruises that we've done to date. The positive experience has been shared through word of mouth, and as you see, they've been selling out. All right. I can see why. I've done 3 of them. All right. And honestly, sharing the elegance of river cruise travel with the intimacy of a smaller ship creates an incredible experience. A little comment to think about. Normally, we offer a couple of different river cruise destinations per year, and then we may skip them. So keep that in mind as you look at the catalog. You'll see what we offer in 2024, and you may or may not see it again, but if it's offered, it may be several years away. So consider that. So in reflecting on a few comments that I want to make about these cruises, Will has done a really good job on this slide of highlighting the benefits of a river cruise. All right. He is going to take the lead on describing some of these things in greater detail, but I thought I would give you just a few comments about my own experience. I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit, but a lot of it is about food. A smaller ship with fewer cabins lends itself to more simplicity, comfortable seating in the lounge, and no long dinner lines. With the total number of passengers on these ships, and they're much smaller than the large cruise ships, you really get top quality service at your meals. And you have a variety of options for the mealtime locations and service styles. What do I mean by that? Well, you get to decide where you want to eat based on your day's schedule. If you've done an included morning excursion and you have signed up for an optional tour, you come back to the cruise ship for lunch, all right? And then you're going to go back out. You can go to the buffet. It'll be a little faster, all right? You'll have some time to rest and get organized for your afternoon activities. If you're not going to do an optional tour, you can linger over a plated served meal, so you get both. While you're never far from the next snack or meal, the portions are very reasonable. You can always ask for more. Now, I interpret that, and this was my experience, particularly in April, you can dine on every course. You know what that means. That means dessert too. And you're not going to feel stuffed, and you're not going to pay the costs when you get home. I think you may know what I mean by that. All right, now I want to talk to you a little bit about the Normandy, Paris, and Seine cruise. And this picture is of my good friend and colleague, Mireille Brisbois Allen. She and I have done a couple of these cruises together. We did the Normandy Paris cruise in April, and we are going to be doing it again together in both April and October of 24. We do well teamwork wise, and I know you'll enjoy her company if you're signing up for this. So let's just transition to the next slide. Will's going to go into some specific detail, more detail about what I'm going to share, but I just have a couple of thoughts about this particular cruise that's based on my experience having done it in 22. So while we start and end in the large city of Paris, there are a number of small port towns along the Seine. They are within easy walking distance of the ship where it docks, and you can disembark and you can go exploring on your own. It's a wonderful way to have the freedom to see these small towns. The spring flowers were in full bloom in 2022 and visible at a lot of our stops. Many of the walks that we took through the towns had colorful wildflowers everywhere. Probably the highlight for me was, and here's how I describe it, the explosion of inspirational color at Monet's garden. It really made me want to paint. So unique to this tour is the fact that we get to walk through many of these towns, not just because they're accessible to the ship, but our bus will take us to the towns and we do some walking. I mention this because it is essential that you have comfortable walking shoes. We have some hills, we have some cobblestones, and it's important to have the ability to navigate these on this particular trip. So I'm going to turn it over to Will now, and then I'm going to come back and tell you a little bit about the London extension.
Thanks so much, Deb. So this is one of my favorite experiences as it really hits home for the American populace with the connection with the D-Day beaches. And currently we actually only have about 3 cabins available on April 16th left, and those are likely to sell out entirely in the next 24 hours. We have 1 suite, 1 category E, and 1 category D available in April. And there's nothing like April in Paris. But October is a great month as well. We were out there last year also at that time, and it was beautiful. So on the October 8th departure, we have almost completely sold out category C. And in the next few weeks, that space of all the categories we anticipate being sold out. So what we've done is to provide you with more opportunities. And we've added a 3rd date to this cruise. And this is important as it's been one of my top trips of any rivers. It combines this great American history in Europe with World War II, along with the small villages and towns from Normandy, and it also adds some of those large cities like Rouen and Paris. Then if you do the extension to London, you're really maximizing your adventure, and I'll let Deb talk about London in just a bit. But Deb's going to be leading the April 16th and October 8th tours. And we just want to give you a quick introduction to what this cruise is all about. Now we will fly round trip into Paris, which is the city of lights, for this magical trip on the Seine River. And that day that we arrive, we board the Amadeus Diamond and make our way out to the coast. And as we're continuing on the river, we get to see this beautiful town of Auvers-sur-Oise. And this was actually the home of Van Gogh for some of his last years. And he actually lived above this little cafe, Auberge Revue. And you'll get to see a lot of the inspiration for what he did in his artwork. Now, this is the city of Rouen, and it's got an incredible architecture to it with these amazing timbered homes. And it's really a wonderful place to visit. It's got not only the architecture, but also the story of Joan of Arc incorporated with it. So beautiful, large city that we do have a lot of free time in the afternoon to explore on your own, as well as a city tour incorporated. And I think my favorite day out of this entire trip is going out to the D-Day beaches of Normandy. So you'll see the coastline on another day, truly the real beautiful scenic coastline, but this has some real blood, sweat, and tears of American soldiers. And so what we do on the entire full day of Normandy is getting to go out to Pont du Hoc, and that is where the Rangers scaled up 100-foot cliffs to destroy these German batteries. Then we'll also work our way over to Omaha Beach, and that was one of 5 beachheads that the Allies attacked on D-Day. And the 2 American beaches, Omaha and Utah. So we'll get to see Omaha Beach, actually step on the beach if you wish to, but there's a great memorial there as well. And then we take you to the American Cemetery, and this is where over 9,000 American soldiers are buried here in Normandy. Great memorial there as well. And then we take you over to a museum, so you get to learn a little bit about the in-depth experience, along with our fantastic local guides that do a great job explaining the steps that took place that day. Now, another great spot on this tour, and Deb was talking about a lot of the villages that you get to walk through. One of those is Etretat, and this is a wonderful village out on the coastline. A lot of people spend their summers out here, but 2 of the great spots within that area are the either end of the coast. So you see that beautiful archway on the far side, and that happens on the other side as well. So you could walk on either end, or you could spend your time in town, grab a snack or something, walk along the beach, which I know Deb liked to do. And this is a wonderful spot for scenic views of the Normandy coast. And then a great harbor town is Honfleur. And these restaurants that line the harbor right around where the boats are some fantastic spots to go sit down and grab a drink and watch people walk by. We'll do a city tour here as well, getting to see this beautiful architecture of Viking period, dating back to that time in the cathedral there. So within Honfleur, that's also a great hub for getting your Normandy ciders. Apples are a huge part of their traditions. You got the ciders, you have caramel, you have so many great options and treats from this region, and this is a great place to pick those up. And then we do a 2-night extension to the City of London, and I'll have Deb talk a little bit about that as she's confirmed on those.
So we take everybody to the airport who's not going on the extension, and then those of us who are take a 2.5-hour train ride on the Eurostar to London. All right. When we get there, we have a city tour. And we see all of the key sites, Buckingham Palace and everything that's key to London. So, and then you have your evening free. All right. What I think what's unique about this is the next day you get to have a day free in London. I have a handout. I've done some research on the key museums like the Tate, Victoria and Albert, the British Museum, Churchill War Rooms. You can spend your time going from museum to museum if you'd like, or there are great shopping opportunities. Probably the busiest and the best shopping in London is Oxford Street, and you can go there. You've probably all heard of Harrods. That's a possibility. Carnaby Street. So you have an opportunity to pick and choose what you want to do in London. We've added this year an English pub dinner as our farewell dinner to kind of close out our experience before I take you to the airport in London the next day. So hopefully you've considered that. It's a nice way to wrap up a great experience. Okay, so we're going to go on to a new cruise. We're very excited to offer this as the highlights of the Douro with Spain. Matt Kennel, who's the president of AFC, and Will took this cruise this past April to check it out, to evaluate it, to determine if it was good for all of us. The report was fantastic. Great staff, great accommodations. And we are offering this cruise just once, as far as I know, in October of 24. Okay, we will be sailing on the Amalia Rodriguez. It was built in 2019. Now, Will is going to talk a lot more in detail about this cruise and also cover some international tours that are coming up this year. I am concluding my portion of the travel show. I want to thank you for listening to me today. I hope that I've intrigued you with some detail about the tours that we've got, and I hope to see you in the coming year. I wish you all a very safe and healthy travel year, and those who've traveled with me know that I never say goodbye. I say happy trails until we meet again. And maybe this year I will finally learn the rest of the song so we can all sing it as we part company at the airport. So take care, everybody, and Will, take it away from here.
Thanks so much, Deb, and thanks for taking the time out of your break, your time off to join us and talk about these great trips. So I've said many, many times that Portugal is up there on top countries to visit for me. And this cruise was one of the best experiences to see the most of what Portugal has to offer. Now, we spend 2 nights in Porto on board the ship, and Porto is the transport hub for this incredible fortified Porto wine that we'll see all about. Now, like all of our river cruises, we include free Wi-Fi on board, and with this cruise is a unique feature only offered on the Douro, and that is an open bar. So folks who like to have a good time, this is the spot. Your domestic beers, wines, and liquor is available without cost. And if you order a premium drink, that would be charged to your onboard account, however. So let's talk a little bit about the ship and the experience. So we'll travel on the Amalia Rodriguez, which was built in 2019 specifically for the Douro River. And they have locks and passages that are much smaller than those on the Danube and the Rhine. And this ship has 4 decks, a wonderful sun deck and lounge. And on the sun deck, you get a chance to explore as we cruise along the stunning river. It's also got a pool if the day is nice out, or even if not, if you want to take a dip. So one thing I will say is that Category C is already sold out on this departure in October. We only have the 1 departure available. And like many of our other trips, these cabins will go fast. So especially these river cruises, and the suites are always the first ones to go. So with the suites, there are only 2 suites and 2 junior suites on board. It's likely these will be booked in the next couple of days. So as we move forward, you get a chance to see the ship. This is a solid 3.5 to 4-star ship, so great experience there. And really the focal point will be on your time out and touring as well as the views around. So most folks don't spend a lot of time in their cabin, but there are some great cabins available. And on the left are the stateroom sizes and inclusions. Now all cabins including suites, have a flat screen TV, private bathroom with shower, hairdryer, phone, desk, and safe. And so categories A, B, and C have French balconies and vary between 129 to 145 square feet. Now there are only 4 category D and 2 category E cabins on this ship. So if you're looking for the lowest cost, those options are limited. So please don't wait. Now as we look a little bit further, one of the great features on this ship is the large water jug in each of the cabins. And this is filled up to start your experience. And this is for your use free of charge and is refillable in the lounge water station. And you can also refill any day use water bottles that you bring from home to take with you on excursions and save on plastics. Now, like with all of our cruises, we have whisper systems, which are the headsets for each of the tours. And these are a great way to make sure you can hear each guide. So those are already in your cabins waiting for you. In your cabin is also a cruise journal, and that has the itinerary for the entire week. So this is very helpful along the journey. I think one of the most memorable moments that I recall on this cruise is really when Matt and I scouted this trip, the time spent sailing past these stunning hillside vineyards and unbelievable cliffs that weave their way through the valley. So Matt and I captured the picture in the bottom with the ship and the vineyards in the back in the port of Pinau. And it's such a scenic journey the entire trip, but especially a lot of the stops we make on tour as we're driving throughout the valley. We'll make some photo stops, and we captured that one up in the right-hand side on one of those beautiful days out in the valley. Now, Porto is spectacular both during the day and at night, and we have a city tour with the highlights of Porto, and we have a second visit to Porto included with the Porto by Night tour, and that's where you can see the city all lit up in the evening, and there are two major bridges covered in lights. It really is a gorgeous town. So a lot to see and do there, some great treats. There's the little custard that's famous in Portugal, and of course the port wine. Now, as part of the city tour, we explore a number of different spots, including the stock market, and that is a very famous site in town. You get to see a lot of the bridges that cross over the river and these beautiful boats that used to carry the port from the valley onto the city center. And up until 1986, port could only be exported from Portugal from Vila Nova de Gaia, and that is Portugal's second largest city right outside of Porto. So everything flowed through this fantastic port. And Salamanca is a university town with the school dating back to 1218. It was a Roman settlement as well for centuries. One of the highlights there is the Plaza Mayor, and that is built between 1729 and 1755. So a really incredible sight to see as the main square of the city and its Baroque design. Then you'll enjoy a fantastic city tour featuring the university, cathedral, plaza, old quarter, and lunch included. Now, if you choose, you can do so and skip the sit-down lunch for more time on your own to explore and grab a tapa on your way. Grab a bite to eat, quick bites out of the local restaurants. But we do include that lunch as well. As we move forward down the river, we work our way over to Lamego, and that is an important piece to Portugal's development. It was the site where the first king was crowned in 1143, and so the city's Gothic cathedral was built by that same king prior to his coronation, and you'll get to enjoy a visit to overlook the town from the hilltop. Now, the site features 686 steps, which are decorated in these tiles of blue and whites. And the image from below is spectacular as well. So if you don't feel like doing the climb, you can skip that. But it really is stunning. Now, Guimarães is nicknamed as the Cradle of Portugal, and it's a must-see for any visit to northern Portugal. Its city center is noted as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's an example of one of the most well-preserved medieval settlements within a modern town. So as I mentioned before, these ships are designed specifically for the Douro, and that way they can navigate both the waterways as well as the bridges. And a few times throughout the cruise, if you're on the sun deck, the staff will actually make sure no one loses their minds or their heads. And they have everybody duck because they do go over or just right under bridges where the metal is actually scraping by. So it's pretty amazing to see these maneuvers that the captain does. And on board, you'll also have the chance to enjoy some wonderful local entertainment. And at 3 ports of call, we invite performers on to dazzle you with fado, flamenco, and folklore dance and music. Now, at the end of the cruise, you'll either return home from Porto or extend your tour with 3-night stay in the city by the Bay of Portugal, and that is Lisbon. So one of the great aspects of our visit is getting to see the Belém Tower, and that is on the left-hand side there. So it's one of many focal points of our time in and around Lisbon. And That is a fortified watchtower that was built to protect the harbor with numerous cannons. And within Lisbon, you'll also visit the Alfama Quarter. And it's stunning tile work, colorful buildings, and great museums as well. Then on another day, we have a full day of touring for you with a visit to Nazaré, also Óbidos and Fatima. Now, Nazaré is home to the largest wave in the world, and in the right conditions, that beach gets the best surfers to try their hand at 80-foot waves. And Óbidos is a small medieval town. It's got cobbled streets, whitewashed homes with brightly painted trim, and dramatic medieval castle that draw you into the magical setting. So we also include the pilgrimage site of Fatima on that, and that's an incredible esplanade that is 2 times as large as St. Peter's in Rome. So this wonderful program heads off late October 2024. Now we are happy to release this next program for the holiday season of 2024, and that is Vienna and the Christmas Markets of the Danube. So Vienna and Christmas Markets is an incredible journey. It highlights a special time of year to be in Germany and Austria. And there's a magic in Europe at that time that really brings to life the holidays. So the Christmas markets open late November each year. And these markets are filled with beautiful ornaments, great opportunities to go shopping through the markets for holiday gifts for family and friends, as well as some incredible food and drink. So whether it's the German pretzels, these beautiful German pretzels, bratwurst, hot chocolate, or mulled red wine, these are some spectacular specialties that come from this area. Now, as we work our way through, there are a lot of great features to this cruise, but one of the things I really like to point out is that we will be traveling on a fairly new ship. This was built in 2022, and this is the Amadeus Cara. So this is truly exciting to be on this special class of ship. And as you can see from these images, there's a lot of great updates that they've done on this ship specifically. So the Cara has updated the interior and wonderful public spaces to enjoy as well. And we land on this cruise in Frankfurt and incorporate the Christmas market in the city. So Frankfurt is one of the leaders in business, and it's become a very modern city with a historic downtown. And throughout the tour, throughout the journey, you'll be able to see a lot of great sites that we incorporate, both a city tour as well as some leisure time to explore. One of those is Rothenburg, and that's where we take a walking tour and stop at the market in town. So here's pictured Rothenburg, and it's a beautiful setting. Now, as we walk through town, we work our way into the city walls and then into the city center, and they have a couple of great markets. They're spread all throughout the area, and from there, we continue on into Nuremberg, and this was famous for the Nuremberg trials. In Nuremberg, we not only learn about the history of the city, but also the Nuremberg trials from World War II. And as we set sail, we'll also make a number of fantastic stops along that river. So as we sail southeast, we stop in Regensburg as well. And Regensburg is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a blend of Bavarian homes and medieval city center. It's a really spectacular stop and a great home for beers as well. Other highlights of this cruise are the optional tour to Salzburg, and that's a full-day excursion where you get to learn about the sound of music. So really a wonderful opportunity there. Our Vienna City Tour is one of the largest European Christmas markets in the entire continent. And we also stop at the Melk Abbey on this cruise. That was built in the 1700s. So this is a 9-day tour. It includes 18 meals, and these are gourmet multi-course lunches and dinners on board the ship, along with breakfasts. Now, the next program I'll cover is our Iceland Explorer, and this opportunity features one of the hot spots in travel. Iceland has been developed as a top 10 destination in the last decade, and we head out June 5th, September 18th, and October 2nd. And so as Iceland has developed, as more and more people come to visit, they have expanded their hotels, their sites, their restaurants, and really done a great job building out Reykjavik to absorb the visitors. So an included visit to the Blue Lagoon is always a highlight on this trip, as is the Viking Ship Museum. Then we do the Golden Circle Tour, and that takes you around a loop of the south end of Iceland. And we incorporate the Skagafoss waterfall, as well as one of the many beautiful lakes on this program. But this is a 7-day, 8-meal tour and wonderful local guides that take you around Iceland. Now, England, Scotland, and Wales is a fantastic way to see some of the best of the British Isles. And we start this tour in Edinburgh, and that's where you'll see the castle as part of the city tour. But this was home to kings and queens for many centuries, and later Queen Margaret was made into a saint, and she died here in the castle in 1093. And there was a chapel built in her honor by her son. That's Edinburgh's oldest building. Then one of the big components to seeing Scotland is trying their local specialties, and their traditional juice of Scotland is Scotch whiskey. So we do a fantastic tasting there, and even the castle makes their own whiskey, so everybody's involved. But with a history spanning 4,500 years, Stonehenge is another highlight on this program and has many different meanings to people today. But Stonehenge is a great feature that we incorporate on our way into London. We also stop in York for one night, and that has an incredible cathedral that we'll visit. We head off into Wales. We get to see Cardiff, which is the capital city, and truly a wonderful visit there as well. So we stay 2 nights in Edinburgh, 1 night in York, 2 nights in Bristol, which is a gorgeous coastal city, and then into London. So London, as Deb has said, is one of the most incredible cities in the entire world, and really does highlight the dominance of the monarchy, as it were. But this one has a number of different departures, both in springtime, April 17th, October 9th, and October 30th of 2024. Treasures of Ireland. This was a fun tour to run, and this tour features the Emerald Isle in all its glory. So we start out in Dublin, spending 2 nights there, and take you on a Dublin city tour complete with the Book of Kells. And of course, a visit to Dublin isn't complete without a stop at Temple Bar. It's a great location for live music, and the Irish are incredible musicians. They love to sing and dance, and especially that Irish folklore dance. Then it's off to the west of Ireland, and one of my highlights is where we see Galway. We also incorporate the Cliffs of Moher and the Ring of Kerry. So you get out on that gorgeous coastal peninsula. And we stay 2 nights in both Limerick as well as Killarney. And finally, we work our way back to Dublin and have the opportunity to stay in a castle for a night before departing home. Now, we offer a 2-night extension on this trip up to Belfast, and that's where you can learn about the troubles of the 1980s, as well as the home port of the Titanic. Next, we'll cover Italy's Amalfi Coast, and this is a wonderful program as well, getting to the southern portion of Italy. And here we're stopping in Rome as we arrive and work our way down to Sorrento. So 5 nights in Sorrento as we explore the coastline and one of the most famous coasts in all of the world. So you'll unpack twice, down in Sorrento to start, and then back up to Rome at the end of the tour. And we have 3 dates that we're promoting right now. That is March 19th, October 29th, and November 5th. So I think a lot of people really enjoy the limoncello demonstration and tasting. That's always a fun treat. And these citrus, the lemons, the limes, the oranges coming from this coastline are unreal. One of my favorite treats in all of Italy is getting fresh squeezed orange juice. So then we're off to Positano, and that's one of the most famous towns in the coast. And one of my great experiences out from this area is going out to the Isle of Capri. Now, Capri is a very minimally populated area. It's home to the Blue Grotto, and the Blue Grotto is only accessible if the conditions are right. Now, you get a chance to explore the island as we take our optional day trip out there. We also have an optional out to Naples, and that is home of pizza, so you can't miss that. Now, Alpine Swiss Villages is an incredible tour that combines a lot of the small town feel of Switzerland. And so what we do on this program, which takes off July 2nd and August 20th, is we spend 6 nights in the Alpine village of Wengen. And here we get the Berner Oberland Pass. And this pass allows us access to a number of different towns throughout Switzerland. And this tour specifically features different modes of transportation to get around. So we start out by working our way on the train. And so we'll take a cogway down into many of the areas around us, to the Lauterbrunnen Valley. And then we'll also work our way out to Gimmelwald and Grimmelwald. And then one of my favorite towns in all of Switzerland is Lucerne. And this is a stunning lake area and amazing architecture with its famous bridge. And that has swans swimming around it all the time. So really gorgeous photos from there. But this is a 9-day tour, 12 meals incorporated in just twice next year. So both summer programs, July 2nd with Chris McCool, and then August 20th with Larry Womack. Athens in the Greek islands is a wonderful program getting into the Mediterranean and the Aegean Sea. And this one starts out with 2 nights in Athens, and that's where we do a full city tour. And that incorporates the Olympic Stadium as well as the Acropolis. Now, the Acropolis Museum on the floor is actually glass, and underneath that you can actually see the excavations continuing to take place. We'll take a high-speed ferry out from Athens and make our way out to the islands of Mykonos and Santorini. And these are 2 stunning islands within the chain. So in Mykonos, we'll spend 2 nights. We'll also work our way from there over to Delos, and that is an archaeological site. From Delos, we'll continue back and then 2 nights in Santorini. Now, one of the benefits to doing it this way is that with a cruise, you're generally spending less time in each port, generally only 7 or 8 hours at a time, whereas we actually spend 2 nights on each of these islands. So that's a great benefit and allows you more time to explore. From Santorini, we also incorporate a wine tasting. So that has some fantastic wines produced in that volcanic soil and that crater there. From Santorini, we come back into Athens for a night, doing a farewell dinner, and then you have the option to add a 3-night extension up to the north, and that takes you to Kalambaka, as well as Delphi and Athens. Now, this is a brand new tour that we just introduced just within the last couple of weeks here, and that is the Treasures of Croatia and Slovenia. Now, one of the booming hotspots in travel these days is Croatia. So we went out and designed this incredible trip, and it takes you to some of the best places throughout this region. So with all the filming of Game of Thrones done in a number of coastal cities in the country, people were able to visualize through films this gorgeous destination. And this tour includes 9 nights and 6 UNESCO World Heritage Sites as part of it. Now, departures head out October 15th and November 6th of 2024. So you have 2 great chances to see the areas. So we'll start out in Zagreb with round-trip air, and you'll be taken on a journey through the city in the morning, and that's where we highlight the Old Town, St. Stephen's Cathedral, and that was built in the 11th century with its twin spires reaching 354 feet. Now, our next stop is out to Ljubljana, and this is a wonderful location. We get a chance to explore the border, and we make our way across into Slovenia, and then the stunning City Hall, fountain, and triple bridge with the midsection built in the 1840s. And you'll stay 2 nights here to maximize your time in Slovenia with a visit to Lake Bled. And as we travel through and getting a chance to see these incredible images, Lake Bled and Bled Castle sits above the lake surrounded by trees and the shimmering waters. So it's known as the true Slovenian fairy tale and dates back to 1011 when it was first mentioned. That makes it the oldest castle in the country and celebrated its 1,000-year history in 2011. So it compiles a 16th century chapel, wine cellar, an herbal gallery, a recreated Gutenberg printing press, which is actually still in use today, and a restaurant with breathtaking views of the lake below. Our next stop takes us over to Zadar, and that's where we spend the afternoon in the open-air museum of Zadar. There's so many incredible sights to see, And it's surrounded by historical ramparts, a treasury of the archaeological monument and riches. And then throughout our time, we also get to see the first sea organ in the world. So it sits at the heart of the Adriatic Sea and is home to nearly 75,000 residents. And we take you on a panoramic city tour with the Roman Forum and some leisure time in town to explore and shop. Now, Split is one of the most important visits for many travelers to Croatia, and its beautiful coastline mixed with the tile roofs and towering cathedral make it a can't miss stop. Now, this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Dubrovnik and dates to 1979 when they initiated that. Our experience here incorporates the Franciscan monastery, cathedral, and the old port, and you'll also have free time to spend as you wish. Then our next site is the Plitvice Lakes National Park, and that is actually Croatia's largest national park, and that covers 74,000 acres. So that area is dominated by forests and meadows with the clear waters of many lakes standing out. And in total, there are 16 lakes linked by waterfalls, and they're separated into 12 upper and 4 lower lakes, with the upper section formed on the Dolomites. You'll have a great time exploring the UNESCO World Heritage Site and see the canyon with 230-foot waterfalls. Now, this departure is only twice next year, October 15th and November 6th. So please don't wait because these spots will fill up quick. This is a wonderful program that we designed specifically for you, and we look forward to taking you on this adventure. And last but not least is our wonderful program to Australia and New Zealand. Now, since these two countries were on full lockdown during the pandemic, travel was restricted, but cases stayed low. And this has created a huge demand for Australia and New Zealand now that they're open up for international travel. And because of this, our first departure, February 19th, is almost sold out. Only 2 seats are left. Now, March is not far behind it, as it's already filling up and has limited space. And while we're all experiencing what Californians call cold, Australia and New Zealand are enjoying a great summer in the Southern Hemisphere. Now, it's a long flight, yeah, but is it worth it? Absolutely. People ask me all the time what my top countries to travel to are, and my answer includes Australia and New Zealand. They are in my top 5, and that's without even seeing the Great Barrier Reef. I wasn't even able to make it there, but it still counts in the top 5. So imagine adding that on. Now, we actually arrive into Sydney and spend 3 nights there, which is a great starting point for your tour. This also reduces the travel time getting to Australia. Now, of the top sites in the city, the most memorable was the Botanical Gardens. And this massive expanse of landscape and views overlooks the harbor, so you can see both the Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Our next visit is to the Rocks, and that's a neighborhood with all sorts of shopping, restaurants, and bars. Wonderful view of the Harbour Bridge there as well. And so a really great place to go explore and spend some time walking through the streets. And that is a very commercialized area, but a wonderful place to visit. Now, we also take you out to this wonderful esplanade, this walkway, the promenade that gets you closer views of the bridge for excellent photos. And then we head off for one of the most iconic sites in the entire world, and that is the Sydney Opera House. So we not only show you the exterior of this world-class building, but we also head inside for an interior look and a tour. Now, the concert hall has a capacity of about 2,500 seats, and it's home to the Sydney Symphony Orchestra. And the building also incorporates 2 other theaters and numerous performance spaces. So really a great place to visit. If you're an animal lover like myself, the visit to the wildlife world is an experience you'll never forget. And I remember being handed a koala, something I'll only say once in my life, I think. And these docile creatures have one thing I didn't expect, and that is massive claws. So this is how they cling to the trees while eating the eucalyptus leaves. You'll see all sorts of native species to Australia while you're here, including kangaroo. Now, kangaroo are kind of like our deer, where they're running into the road, getting hit a lot of times, unfortunately. So they do protect a lot of the species in the different parks around the country. But again, it's kind of funny to think that they are our vermin when we look at them as such incredible creatures from the US. Now, to experience all that Sydney has to offer, we take you on a dinner cruise in the Sydney Harbor that night. And one of the great aspects to that is getting to see the Sydney Opera House by sunset and as the lights come down. And it's really unlike anything else. So great backdrops for some incredible photos like this one here. But wonderful dinner cruise. So dinner's included with that experience as you're working your way around the harbor. And a bucket list item for almost all travelers is having the chance to see the Great Barrier Reef. Now, we minimize motor coach time by flying from Sydney to Cairn and spend 3 nights as the gateway to the reef. And we take you out by catamaran to a tropical island to enjoy an included lunch and your choice of adventure. So if you want to spend more time on the reef, we have a glass bottom boat or some snorkeling to experience. And if you're more of a tree person, if you like to be in the woods, this is another great opportunity as we take you on an eco walk, and our guide will take you out through the banyan trees and explore the land. Now, continuing through, we head back to the city and have plenty to see, so you can enjoy a free day or learn about the Aboriginal people and their culture at the park as part of an optional tour. And Melbourne is famous for its parks as well as gardens, and along with some stunning modern architecture. So it's been rated as one of the most livable cities in the world. And this is also Australia's art capital and has numerous museums to visit. We fly from Cairn to Melbourne and enjoy a city tour along with 2 nights here. And from there, one of my great aspects to this trip is going over as part of an optional trip to Phillip Island Nature Park. And that is the site of the world famous Little Penguin Parade. So the largest little penguin colony in the world lives here. And any night of the year, you can see these little guys come in from the ocean from the viewing platforms. Now you can also adopt a penguin, but good luck getting it on the motor coach. And then Queenstown. This is a spectacular visit with wonderful views out into Milford Sound. I think that's one of the most spectacular views in all the world, is getting to see this beautiful setting out with the mountains and the valley and the city. But these gorgeous peaks as we're traveling through the valley itself. And so you get a chance to see Milford Sound. We take you on a cruise, a luncheon cruise, and take you right underneath the beautiful waterfalls that are there. So this is some breathtaking scenery, and also get some commentary from the boat captain there. Then you get a chance to spend some time in Queenstown and explore on your own. There's a day to relax. It's a 17-day tour, so it's good to have a break in the middle. And then the following day, we take you out to Rotorua. Now, there are a couple of aspects of this program. As we spend time in Rotorua on the North Island, we get to see not only the kiwi, so this is the kiwi hatchery, and learn all about the kiwi population. Again, it's been on the brink of extinction for quite some time. But then we get to take you over to the thermal reserve. And this is very similar in style to Yellowstone in terms of its geysers, the bubbling mud pools, and native bush. So you get to see a lot of the similar features, but it's an incredible setting and just a wonderful opportunity to explore there. Now, as we continue that day in Rotorua, New Zealand is home of the kiwi, but also of this hangi. And so what we do is we take you out to the Maori Performance Center, Cultural Performance, and enjoy a feast, as well learn about the haka. Now, the haka is a dance from our perspective, but truly a traditional method of intimidation. So anyone that landed in New Zealand in the early days would be face to face with these fierce warriors, and they would intimidate their competitors until they decided whether they would attack or not. So there was a method of peace that could be worked out, but it's really an amazing experience to see this in person. And I think a highlight for a lot of people, especially if you're a big Lord of the Rings fan, is getting out to Hobbittown. And this is on the North Island and working our way out towards Auckland. So Hobbittown is the landscape and the scenery from the film itself. And we take you out there and get you right up close and personal. So you could walk into a Hobbit house and explore on your own. And then finally, we wrap up in Auckland. This is an amazing harbor town, a beautiful spire in the city center, and it's got a wonderful bridge over the harbor. So if you're an adventurous soul, you could also bungee jump here. That was a thorough adventure. They dipped me in the water. But Auckland is a beautiful city with a lot of great features to it, a lot of great character, and it's a fairly modern city for the most part. So you'll feel right at home if you're coming from San Diego or Dallas or any of the other great American cities. So this program, as I mentioned before, February 19th is almost sold out. March 11th is a guaranteed departure, and October 21st is still having plenty of space. So please take a look at this program, 17 days. And if you think about it, you could spend all that time eating, 24 meals included. That covers about the cost of my entire trip. So as we like to do, we like to offer different show specials for the folks that attend today. And if you book a new 2024 international tour or river cruise to Europe by next Friday, August 4th, we reduce the deposits. Now, deposits internationally go up next year to $600. But if you book today or by next Friday, we reduce the deposit to $299. So that's a great way to put less money down up front. We're also reducing $20 off the travel protection. So we do have that travel insurance with the cancel for any reason benefit. And if you pay with it, with your deposit, we'll take $20 off that insurance. Our early booking savings is a great way to save. And so you can save anywhere from $150 to $200 on most international tours and European river cruises. And our early booking savings now extend to more travelers. So you can get this early booking savings by paying your final payment by check. So make sure you do that to incorporate those savings. Then one of the biggest ways to save and incorporate a better experience for yourself is our one cabin category upgrades on our river cruises. And this can save you anywhere from $200 to $400 per person on any of our river cruises by August 31st. So that gives you just over a month to make sure you put in your deposit and save your spot. So what that means is if you book a category B, you're automatically upgraded to a category A. The one category that's not incorporated are the suites. So you'd have to book a suite specific. But any of the other categories are available for this one cabin category upgrade. So you book a C, you're upgraded to B, and so forth. But this is for the Paris, Normandy, and Seine, highlights of the Douro with Spain, and the 2024 Christmas markets of Vienna and the Danube. You must use the savings code International 2024, however. So make sure you incorporate that when you call our office or when you send an email to Joe, Holly, or April to book your trip. Now, how you book your tour. You can call our reservations team, 800-369-3693. You can email Joe, Holly, or April at afctours.com, or send us one of the forms that are available on our website. So afcvacations.com, and the forms section, you can fill that out and send it in. And those river cruises are going to go out fast, especially that April cruise with only 3 spots left. So make sure you get your deposits in today, save your spot, and enjoy the experience. Now, from the AFC family, we wanted to take the time to thank you all for attending. Thanks for hanging in there with the technical difficulties, but we really, really appreciate you, from the tour managers, the staff in the office as well. And we really do want you to have the best experience possible when you're out there traveling with us. So if you have any questions, any feedback about the show or new show ideas, you can email April at afctours.com. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Deb for hopping on and sharing some of her great tours for next year. And we look forward to the next travel opportunity with you. Have a great day.